Intertalk Radio, you're in to all things music.
I saw my dad, who is Mr. Non-Emotional. He's not cold, really? He just doesn't show his emotion. And he had the biggest smile on his face. Like, I'm looking at my dad, I'm looking at all my friends and their parents, and I'm looking at people I don't even know, and they're into it. And it made all the fear go out, and it was like, this is what I was meant to do.
Welcome to Jackie's Groove. Come journey with us through the rhythm of the music business with your host, Jackie Bertoni.
Strung above an alligator pit, saddle up a great white, hold on tight just to see how far he gets. Sneak right up behind a sleeping lion, yeah, give that little tail a tug. It's crazy what a guy is willing to try for love. Now there ain't no limit once a man.
Everybody, happy Monday. It's Monday, October the 30th. Guys, it's a little cloudy here in Southern California, but we're going to brighten it up right now. Because I want to say a special shout out and a thank you to an amazing publicist, and Nicole Zeller. Thank you so much, girl, for bringing me this amazing talent here on Emerging Mondays. And speaking of Emerging Mondays, today's artist is making huge strides in the industry, man. We're going to find out what he's all about. We're going to start out by finding out what he's doing in the industry that's putting his best foot forward. So with that said, I'm proud and privileged to welcome artist number 16. On an ongoing series, on a great series called Emerging Mondays. This is Jackie Bertoni, Jackie's Groove, brought to by Intertalk Radio, your connection to all things music. And my guest today in the studio is Mr. Mark Bray. Mark, welcome to Jackie's Groove.
Jackie, how's it going, my man? Thank you so much for having me on today's show.
Thank you for being...
If I could record that and have that played at every station, that would be great. I appreciate the
We all have a price. We all have a prize, brother. Hey, you know what? I'm a fan. We've been blessed in the industry in our show, to have interviewed, the big boys in the industry, the Zach Browns and and our good friend of ours, Rich Redmond, with Jason Aldean and such. And as I said too to a lot of the listeners, I wasn't really excited about the Emerging Mondays, not because I was above and beyond that. It's just that my plate is so full. We took a chance, and our ratings, Mark, are ridiculous. And we're really, really proud of that, man. So welcome to the show. So let's start out not the cookie cutters type of interview, but I want the listeners to know, first and foremost, are we talking to you in Nashville right now? Where are you sitting down?
I am currently sitting in my soon-to-be daughter's brand new nursery outside of Baltimore, Maryland.
God bless. God bless you,
I'm actually
brother.
at home.
Good for you. Beautiful. And are you living in the Nashville area?
I do a lot of traveling back and forth between Nashville and Maryland because that's where our families are. And I don't know if you yourself have kids, but man, when you're having a baby coming, it's really, really good to have those folks around.
Yeah, man, we're godparents. We're not parents by choice. We're godparents 7 times over, and they range from the age of 11 years old to 42. So I guess that shows something good for our character one way or the other. So there's just some things that kids can't tell their parents. And so we do what we got to do. So with that said, brother, let me ask you a question. Through the Bray household growing up, I always like this question. I always want to find out exactly, the inspirations that were coming through the speakers of the Bray household. What was mom and dad listening to? What were they forcing you to listen to, or were you enjoying what they were playing?
Oh man, I mean, it was a proverbial top 40 household, and I don't mean like the new top 40. I mean like old school top 40, where you would, you'd hear the Supremes 1 minute, and then you'd hear Willie Nelson the next minute. You'd hear Billy Joel and the Bee Gees, and then you would hear George Strait. I mean, it was across the board, man. I mean, we're even talking classical stuff. I mean, Beethoven, Mozart. It was just the whole gamut, man. Yeah,
and that's so cool that you brought that up, because I was listening to Howard Stern on a repeat when he interviewed Robert Plant, And Robert said the same thing too. You know, even growing up in the UK, that radio stations weren't, you know, segregated. They weren't R&B, they weren't soul, they weren't punk and everything else. One minute you'd be listening to Engelbert, the next minute you'd be listening to Zeppelin, you know, and so on. So I try to give everybody that cross sections of what's out there, because I tell a lot of the young listeners, and I'm not going to put you in that category of young listeners, but to know where music is going, we all have to know where it started. So with that said, tell the audience worldwide right now, who was your inspiration? What put you towards the country vein? Share with us.
Garth Brooks, hands down. I mean, I grew up a 90s kid, and if in the 90s you were listening to country music and you didn't think Garth Brooks was the biggest thing on the planet, then you weren't listening to the radio. His energy, his style, the fact that he drew inspiration from, you know, artists like Seeger and Kiss, but on the other side, you know, George Jones and Merle Haggard. You know, it really spoke to me because that's the kind of inspiration that I was listening to through my parents. So it was a really good fit for me to kind of latch onto his style and his music.
Was mom and dad always supportive of your choice of music? The fear of the unknowing of what's going on. What were their plans for the young Mark Bray? What were they hoping that you were to turn out to be? And are they supportive of where you are now? Share with us.
Well, it's funny now. Now they don't have a choice. but when I was a kid,
exactly,
it was, you know, you follow the rules. You know, you go to school. My parents sent me. You know, my parents worked hard to send me to a good school, and it was, you go to college, get your degree. After you get your degree, you get a job in said degree, and if you want to do music on the side, you can do that. But I don't think they ever thought, when I said this is what I want to do, I think at first they were like, yeah, because I wanted to do everything from being, you know, a movie star to a hockey player. You know, I was like, okay, all right, yeah, now he wants to be a singer. Okay. I don't think it was until they saw my very first show when I was a teenager, because I'll never forget the looks on their faces. They were like, you know, oh crap, he's actually going to do this thing. But they've always been hesitant in the sense that, you know, like any parent would be, because it's unknown, because, you know, you're told, yeah, follow your dreams, but just so you know, about 99% of people that try to do this, you know, end up not actually doing it, and you got to have something to fall back on. So they've always been supportive to a point.
Right. And again, it's that big question mark of where he or she is going to go in this world. I mean, I don't even know if my network even knows this, but I was one of the first males to be accepted to the Rio Hondo College School of Nursing. My mom was a very prominent surgical nurse for Open Heart, and it was her dream that her son could follow in the footsteps. And it wasn't any stigma of being quote unquote gay, if to be a male nurse or whatever it was. But, you know, when I stepped out of high school, actually during my sophomore year into my junior year, I was really heavily in tune with one of the biggest bands in Los Angeles called Nice and Easy. I'm still in contact with the guys. And then maybe 8 months after I graduated, I was fortunate enough to join a group called the Tower of Power. And that's where my feet got wet. I mean, you're going from high school and staying away from college to being thrust into one of the biggest bands in the music business, and is forever thankful. My mom still didn't get it to the certain level. We grew up with music in our family on a daily basis, and my mom was worried about drugs. She was worried about, you know, the future. She was, you know, but as mom saw me getting more into the industry itself, then she saw the beautiful homes that the industry afforded, and the cars and so on and so forth. It still took her a while to get it, quote unquote, it. And, you know, seeing a lot of people that everybody would give their left, you know what, to meet, the guys from Santana, Tower of Power, the list goes down the line, that my mom had a chance to hang out at the house and see it. And you said a little while ago, your mom and dad like, oh crap, he's really doing this. But let me ask you a question. Share with me, since I've experienced this, but isn't it the most beautiful thing is when you are performing, I don't care what size of a venue, and you're looking out in a sea of faces, and you look over and mom is smiling at you. How does that not fill your heart, man? I mean, please.
Can I tell you, before you even finished that question, I knew where you were going with that. Perfect. And my very first show, when I was just talking about, we played the church carnival, the church we went to down in South Florida, and I put a little ragtag band together. And I'll never forget, I mean, that day is engraved in my mind. It was, 87 degrees. I was sick. I had Vicks Vapor Rub all over my chest. And it was the first time I ever got to be on stage. And it's goofy. I wore the big 10-gallon hat and a starched Garth Brooks looking red shirt that Lord knows where that is now. And I remember being scared out of my mind.
Right.
Because this was it. And I remember looking all the way to the back of the tables that were set up. And I saw my parents. And I saw my dad, who is Mr. Non-Emotional. I mean, he's not cold. Really? He just doesn't show his emotion. And he had the biggest smile on his face. And just thinking about it now, all these years later, I feel like I'm crying. But it's a feeling that the best way to describe it, Jackie, is there's an Allan Jackson song called "Chasing That Neon Rainbow," and there's a particular line in the song where he says, "When the crowd's into it, it makes this thing I'm doing seem right." And that's what it was. It was like, I'm looking at my dad, I'm looking at all my friends and their parents, and I'm looking at people I don't even know, and they're into it. And it made all the fear go out. And it was like, this is what I was meant to do.
I mean, they shot you affirmation without even opening their mouths. I mean, if they tried to, you wouldn't be able to hear them anyways. But that's what we do. And I want to look at this because a lot of the A-list players, I just interviewed last week Ray Parker Jr., and we did it apropos for his new documentary coming out with Fran Strine called Titans of Radio. And it's all about the great musicians, the Steve Lukather's, the Leland Sklar's, the Jay Gradens, all the people that were on 30 of the top-selling songs that we listen to from, the album Thriller and so on and so forth. And I always ask the question because the majority of them are all fathers or in that case are mothers. And I ask them this question, growing up, I'm going to share this little anecdote with you, with my longevity I have with the Beach Boys as their percussionist and also with Wilson Phillips. I asked this question even with Kathy Rich, Buddy Rich's daughter, who I had on the show. We take for granted the fact about not being a star's child. And, you would be knock at the door, and Kathy would open the door, and there would be Uncle Frank in the door giving her a hug. And that Uncle Frank was Uncle Frank Sinatra, but she was still Uncle Frank. And then with Carney Wilson, she would come down the stairs, and Dad would be behind the piano playing with Elton John. The week later, playing with Paul McCartney, but that was Uncle Elton and Uncle Paul. And so the fact is, even with Michael McDonald's son Dylan, how I had on one of the first of the artists on Emerging Mondays, he would get a knock at the door, and it'd be Uncle David there at the door, and it was ended up being David Crosby. And when he first got an album with Crosby, Stills, and Nash, he said, "Oh shit, that's Uncle David." So the fact is, we don't look at that situation. But I always ask the artist, now that your kids are grown or in that area, do they get what Dad is doing? And I love the response and the cross section of people understanding, because they are thrust into the industry. They do realize that their friends realize, hey, your dad or your mom is famous. So you on the cusp of being a daddy to be. How much do you want? Are you going to be a daddy to be of a boy or a girl? Do you know yet?
I'm going to be a little girl.
Okay. Oh, God bless you. Give me the sign of the cross. God bless, man. And it's so the fact of it, of course, we are so excited. You better sit there with the shotgun, brother, because that's the way I am with my nieces. You just want to make sure that
I can get some good songwriting material out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's called Daddy, Give Me the Visa. And that's the whole thing, because how do you say no to these little babies? And so on. So will you, I mean, it's almost like a stupid question, but will you make sure that this baby girl is going to have music in her life from when she comes out of mama's womb until she grows up? How responsible are you going to be to keep her heart in in music?
Because it's such a big part of who I am, I would be remiss if I didn't share my love for music and my love for, performing and playing instruments to her. If it were to come down to, like I talk to my wife all the time. My wife, she sings in the car, right? She's not a musician. She was a pretty decent lacrosse player, but she's not a musician.
Right.
And I always tell her, I wonder what Charlotte is going to get from me, is going to get from you. Is she going to want to play lacrosse and be an athlete like her mom and and my wife's dad, or is she going to want to, learn to play the guitar or the piano and write songs? And
right.
To me, it doesn't matter because it's kind of cool. The mystery of it is cool. But what I would like to see happen is, and I want to expose her to the same way that my dad and my mom did. My parents had no inkling in their head that their son was going to grow up one day to be a professional musician. They were just sharing their love of music. That's what I want.
And that's so.
I want to share
cool
my
that you said that
music with her.
Yeah, because I always tell everybody, I do a lot of mentoring itself, and I tell this over and over again to parents out there: don't force an instrument down your child's throat. Take your child to a music store and let the instrument call them. And even moreover,
right.
Al DiMiola, our dear friend of the station and my personal friend, he said the best thing you can do for your babies, meaning his and those of the like, is to take your children to concerts, live music, to let them get that.
Let them fall in love.
There's nothing, absolutely. There's nothing more than having that situation. People are always worried about babies' ears being so sensitive and so on. So take your child and put them to the back of the arena or the back of the festival or whatever it may be. But just engulf their life with music, because I'm sorry, but if you don't have music in your life, you have an empty soul. That's my own personal feeling. And
I got a question
you
for
see
you.
How fast go ahead.
No, go ahead. No. You finish your thought, but then I just thought of a question.
No, I want you to write that question. Write that question down, because when we come back on segment number 2, we're already coming out of segment number 1. So you see how fast this goes. So do me a favor, write that down, because I'm intrigued. I want to find out what's going on.
Oh, I got it.
I want to ask you a series of questions also. And I want to find out, now that you are, I don't want to use the word fledgling, but now that you're making some inroads in the industry itself, I don't answer the question now, but I want to find out: are you upset that you are that you're now in the business where the business is in such disarray, where you actually have to go out and bust your chops to make a living because there's no such thing as record sales, or at least, and so on and so forth. And we're going to talk all about Mark Bray's music and where you can purchase music, as I say, wherever music is sold. I wish I could say at Tower Records or at Music Plus or at Amoeba or Virgin, and hopefully that'll come around again. But I want your true opinion on that situation. Are you excited for the business the way it is right now? Or are you pissed that you're a day late and maybe $1 short? We don't know that right now, but we're going to find out when we come back on segment number 2. Guys, I'm having a great time talking to Daddy to Be, Mark Bray. For the girls out there listening, and I'm saying this is no homo, and I say this with that nice little stripe across my face. This brother's a good-looking man. So the girls out there, he is married. And the fact is, when I look at your face, Mark, I don't see country coming out of that face. You guys can go onto Facebook under Mark Bray Music. You know exactly what I'm talking about. So when we come back on segment number 2, we're going to pick this up, man. This is Jackie Bertoni, Jackie's Groove, brought to you by Intertalk Radio. We are your connection to all things music. And this is Jackie saying, guys, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after these words. So stay tuned. Right back, Mark. Enjoy.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
You know what's all around you every waking moment of your life? Marketing. You're choking on it. I'm Scott Robertson, and when it comes to strategic PR, branding, and marketing, I've seen it all. And actually, I'm still seeing it because bad marketing never sleeps. Join me each week on May the Best Brand Win, right here on Intertalk Radio, and learn how to make the marketing for your brand unforgettable.
Hi, I'm Tim Dolbear, the host of Sound Experience on Intertalk Radio. Each week, I talk with top professional audio engineers, producers, musicians, and the manufacturers that make the tools that we use in the studio each and every day. From capturing the perfect take to mastering your final release, and the tools and how the pros use them, we are going to dive deep into their process and learn from their experience. I look forward to you joining us each week on Sound Experience with me, your host, Tim Dolbear.
Make this your vinyl night. I'm John J.R. Robinson, and every week, music creation comes alive through stories, experiences, and sounds when vinyl records filled our hearts and minds. My friends and I share our tips and techniques used in creation of iconic tracks for recording artists such as Michael Jackson, Eric Clapton, Quincy Jones, and Steve Winwood, to name a few. Vinyl has emerged hot, and the soul of vinyl defines art and passion which burns deepest at night. Tune in every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on EnterTalkRadio.com.
Todd Zuckerman from the rock band Styx, and you're listening to my pal Jackie Bertoni on Jackie's Groove. Groove on, motherfuckers.
Welcome to Jackie's Groove. Come journey with us through the rhythm of the music business with your host, Jackie Bertoni.
You do or say sounds like an old country song. Well, I've had that kind of week, so I just need a drink, something to cool me down, pick me up right off the ground, something I can hold on to that might get me through. I need the taste of something strong that lasts me.
Hey everybody, welcome back to segment number 2 of Jackie's Groove. This is Jackie Bertoni, brought to you by Intertalk Radio Network, your connection to all things music. Before I move on forward here, guys, do yourselves a favor and do us a favor also. I'm very redundant by saying this, but I want you guys to, who you can't listen to us live, go on to a company called iTunes and Google and download our easy-to-use and free application. 2 words, Intertalk is the first, radio is the second. You can take Jackie's Groove and the amazing plethora of shows that we have on Intertalk's network with you on the go when you can't listen to us. With that said, you guys, welcome back to number 16 of the Emerging Artist Monday, Emerging Mondays, with my in-studio guest, Mr. Mark Bray. Mark, are you still there, brother? Are we ready to chop it up again? Okay, so we took a break there, and you asked me, you said, Jackie, let me ask you a question. So I stopped you, so I'm going to pick it up now. Go ahead and ask that question if you have the nerve.
Yeah, sure. Well, we were talking about, the music that we grew up with, and one of the questions I always like to ask people, because it's usually such a great memory, what was the first concert you ever went to? And I don't mean as it could be as an adult if that was like your first concert, but like what was the first concert your parents took you to or you went to as a kid that really just kind of just burned into your memory?
Easy question, easy answer. Tony Orlando and Dawn.
That's awesome.
And my mom and my grandma, my little Armenian grandma who got shorter and shorter as she got older, grandma took her to the Desert Inn in Las Vegas. I took her there, and a friend of mine that knew of the crew at the Desert Inn. In the middle of the show, my little Armenian grandmother stood up and yelled out, "We love you, Tony Lando. Everybody loved Tony Lando." And I will never forget that.
Awesome.
And he came forward, got on his knee, put his hand out, and I watched my grandma with a tear in her eye, and he sang "Tie a Yellow Ribbon Around the Old Oak Tree" for her. So that was my first concert in Vegas. My first concert on my own was, oddly enough, at a place called the Golden Bear in Huntington Beach, where everybody got their start. Jimi Hendrix, Linda Ronstadt, the list goes down the line. I happened to take a girlfriend at the time. It was my sophomore year in high school. I looked older, being an Italian Armenian. I had a beard. And I took her to see Tower of Power, and to find out that 2 years later that I would be a part of that group. So so going back to what we talked about,
mind-blowing
take your
itself,
babies.
By the way.
Yeah, man, because you think about this, and I pray that you get this ability, because the music that I grew up listening to find out 20, 30 years later that I'm actually recording with those groups or I'm on stage. I'm the biggest fanboy. I try not to show it. Yeah. Paul, my engineer, the CEO of the company, he laughs because he just sits in the background and goes, let's watch Jackie make a total buffoon out of himself because he's around a huge person. I try not to do that, but I can't get away from that because I still pinch myself. Is this really happening? So with that said, let me just throw it back to you for a second. Where was your first concert, and what did you think, and how old were you?
My dad took me and my older sister to see James Taylor at what at the time was called the Coral Sky Amphitheater in Palm Beach, Florida. And I had never been to a real concert. And if you ask my dad how the story goes, he tells it a little differently because I was a handful the whole time for whatever reason, except for when the music was playing. I was just so sucked in by everything. James Taylor, of course, because, he's freaking James Taylor. But,
of course,
the drums, the guitars, just the lights, the sounds, everything. And I'll never forget the moment when he did Shower the People, and he's singing it, and I'm sitting there singing what I thought the words were. Now, remind you, I was a 12-year-old. And I'm sitting there going, and my dad's looking at me with this very nice look on his face, and I'm sitting there going, shout love with me. And my dad goes, what are you saying? That's the song, isn't it? He goes, no, those are definitely not the words to that song, but you're living it. You're digging it. I get it. Have fun. You do your thing. But that was a very monumental moment for me, just to be there, to experience it. And, I'm a big proponent for going out and seeing live music, whether it's a band, down the street at the local bar, or it's a national
local music, brother.
Get out and see live music. Get out there and see it, because there is nothing better than seeing a group of people take their individual instrument and put it together to make something beautiful. And for you to sit there and watch it live and watch their facial expressions and watch their hands move, and there's an energy that you can't get off of a recording.
But it's so cool that you brought that up, because you drew a picture just a couple of minutes ago. You said, as a child, you looked at the drums, you looked at the lights, you looked at the whole vibe. But I'd be hard pressed to call you a liar if you said that if you don't go to a show today, and forget about you performing, but going in the audience, doesn't that still rock your world, man? When you're looking at that whole vibe of the crowd moving in, the roadies on stage, the techs moving things around, and just that angst, that excited, the exhilaration that you get when those lights drop, and there's that first chord that struck.
I saw Garth Brooks for the first time ever about 2 years ago. I'd never seen him, just based on my age. He went into retirement, so I wasn't really old enough to kind of see him when he was touring. When he comes back around, he does his world tour, and my wife and I got tickets. And somehow, some way, Ticketmaster gods were shining down upon me, and we were able to get, like the 9th row dead center.
Wow.
And we go to the show, and I'd never, ever, this was the guy that made me pick up a guitar. So I'm like, all right, this is it. And, man, didn't you know it? He started performing, and he's singing, he's dancing around, and he's running around, and I am crying like a baby. I am just completely now, I could blame it on the Bud Light. I can say that was it, but it was just such a surreal experience. And I'll never forget, my wife and I going during one of the breaks. We went, one of the breaks of the song, we went to get 2 more beers, and I went to my wife. I said, honey, you're going to have to go buy the beer. She goes, why? I said, look at my eyes. They're completely bloodshot. They're either going to think I'm drunk out of my mind, and I don't want to feel like explaining to them, oh, no, I'm not drunk. I've just been crying like a little baby girl because it's Garth Brooks. So I get it, man.
But you know what, Mark?
It hits you. As an adult, it moves you.
Of course, because that's the inspiration. That music evokes emotion. I wanted to find out from you. This is a good lead-in for this.
Mm-hmm.
You are a married man. How long have you been married to your bride?
1.5 years.
I'm going on 34 years.
Last year. Congratulations!
I'm going on 34 years, man. And you got to find out what's your better half's name?
Erin.
Okay, so I have to ask my wife Caprice. I'm going to have to ask Erin. What are you guys thinking about saying "I do" to musicians? We are not the slice of life that people think we are. We are emotional. We are egotistical. We, as my wife always said, and my mom always said, if I stopped and took a dump on the corner of Main and 5th, I would expect the traffic to come to a stop and get out and applaud. But that's just what's in our system. That is our desire and the need to do the best we can for that. But let me ask you a question. Let's talk about Charlotte, the baby to be, coming up, which is going to be one of your main inspirations. I can't tell you, if you get a chance, I want you to go on to iTunes and I want you to download a song called When Scarlet Smiles. And it's a song that was written by my good friend, Michael McDonald. And when he was looking at his daughter, Scarlett, who's now 23 years old, it's a song that will evoke tears like you have no idea, just looking down at that baby, your creation. And so with that said, and as I said before, being a good-looking brother, I give credit to where credit's due. Let's talk about your better half. Let's talk about her in itself. How does she deal inside? Again, we come from a no jealous relationship, my wife and myself. Because my wife says, if somebody can give you more than I can, then you deserve her. And, or she deserves you, or God bless the both of you. So, when your parents are telling you, don't put your hand in that cookie jar, the chances are you're going to put your hand in that cookie jar. So the fact of the matter is, in our industry, as young guys growing up before we were married, we got into this industry for one thing. It was the easiest way to get tail. And if you say you didn't, Mark, you're a liar. Because, and that's the bottom line. But as man, sure. But as we go forward, and you're a front man, I'm just a grunt in the back on percussion. But the fact of the matter is, when you're doing that, there's always those things called groupies and so on. And I'm not going to be, I'm not playing a psychologist here, but when you have a look like you have, you're a front man and you're entertaining the masses. How do you thwart off advances? I'm curious about this. I haven't really asked that question, but how do you, you look up, I see my wife on my right shoulder all the time, and I know I just don't do that stuff. But the bottom line is temptation is there, and it raises its ugly head. Oh, sure. How do you stay away from that? How do you stay away from that? Share with the other listeners out there.
I go home. I mean, it's
fair enough.
You got to look at all the things that you have, and all the gifts that you have, and all the blessings that you have, and keep in mind that the most important of all those blessings and all those gifts it's not the career, it's not the singing voice, it's not, fate shining greatly upon you to have your stuff coming out at the right time and having the right people listen to it. It's the people that you get to share that journey with, and it's your family. And, if I really believe that everything kind of happens for a reason, had I not met my wife, then there are a good chance that I probably wouldn't have stayed focused and kept my eye on the prize to make my career happen, and I wouldn't be here. It's easy when you look at it that way. My wife is my backbone. She's my strength, and more importantly, now Charlotte. If you would have asked me 5-6 years ago, yeah, man, I'm doing it for the fame, the fortune, and all that comes with it. Now it's for them. It's for Charlotte. It's for this little girl. Like, I want her to have the life that I was given by my parents. And the way to do that is to work my butt off to make this a successful journey.
Mark,
that's the easiest way
up, brother.
To it off.
It's
funny. I'm getting there.
My wife would say.
I'm working on it. 5 years ago, I was 13 years old. Now I'm about 17 or 18. We're moving up.
Yeah,
we're moving up.
It's a work in it's a work in progress, man. Because I look again. I don't know how I would live my life without my girl. I mean, she warms my heart, man. Everybody who knows my wife looks at me and says, "Bro, you have no idea how lucky you are." God knows, nobody knows how lucky I am more than myself. And so now that we got off the Oprah Winfrey and the Barbara Walters situation, let's go back into being musicians. So let me ask you this question. I ask this question a lot. If I take your music player, if I jump in your car with you right now, we're cruising, what's in rotation? What am I listening to with you?
Let's see. You're going to listen to Garth. We already talked about that, but you're also going to listen to George Jones. You're going to listen to Billy Joel. You're going to listen to The Doors. You're going to listen to the Rolling Stones. You're going to listen to Jimmy Buffett. You're going to listen to Guns N' Roses. You're going to listen to Maná, which is a Spanish rock group that is incredible. I don't even speak Spanish that well, but I love it. I love it.
The most amazing Spanish rock group that's out there, and that's spelled Mana. So you guys want to definitely Google them. That's a dichotomy. That's a cross section. I would never even think that would come out of your mouth on that situation, but they are so rock oriented.
They are.
Go ahead and
it's
share the audience.
I tell people all the time, Maná is the biggest band in the world that you've never heard of. Do yourself a favor, go check them out. They come to the U.S., they play football stadiums, and deservingly so.
So, and let me ask you this question, too. This is very important to me. I said this to you on the break before we went into the second segment. You know, you are at that age, and I was corrected by my network, the young guys in the network, Cedric, to be point blank. He was a little upset, the fact, not so much mad, but the fact is I was kind of being a little downtrodden on the millennials. And I was with Cedric over Wednesday, and I kind of apologized to him because I don't want to turn into our parent. I'm 57 years old. I was claiming the fact that millennials don't spend money on music, and they don't, so I'm not lying about that.
They don't. I'm the first generation that they coined the term millennial to. Mm-hmm. So I get it, and I know, when I was getting at that point where, the internet connection was a little bit faster than dial-up, everyone was like, hey, there's this thing called Napster and LimeWire, and, oh, you have this song here, burn it on a CD for me, make me a mix CD, and people they don't buy the music, and it has changed the business a lot.
I think I've just got to back up, and I apologize to Cedric, and I'm going to apologize because we have a huge listening audience, and believe it or not proud to say, but we're big on that, on Instagram and the like right now, because that's who those listeners are. And I'm looking at the clock right now. I cannot believe we're already blown through the second segment. But I want to talk more about if Mark Bray gets today's music. And that's very, very, very important to me because there's a lot of things. I mean, there's a lot of great music out there, Mark. You just have to dig really, really deep to find it. That's right. And I don't care what kind of a situation is. My sister-in-law is here in the studio. She wanted to find out if you're going to be at the CMAs or if you have anything to do with that, and I'll give her the answer when we come back from that. But I want to get more involved itself. I want to talk to you as a musician to a musician. I want to know what you do to that motivates you to get in the studio. Do you prefer the studio more than you prefer live playing and so on? Because there's a lot of guys out there that are motherfuckers in the studio, but they suck live and vice versa. There's only a few of us out there, a handful, that can do both and do both well.
Can do both.
And we're going to talk about musicians. We're going to talk about, are you a slave to Pro Tools and Logic? Are you more at home in the studio with a 2-inch tape? We'll talk more about that because I want to find out about that. And also, hopefully, my CEO, we do a great thing together. He comes on and I introduce him to you and vice versa. He's sick over the weekend, so I don't know if he's even in. I haven't found out. Paul, is Tino in the studio today? Okay, good. So we'll do that. He wants to meet you also, and he's responsible for hooking me up with Nicole and the reason why you're here. So with that said, brother, we'll get a pen handy, and
he's my new best
we're going to go
already.
ahead and yeah, man, we're going to help the audience out there how to stalk Mark Bray, and I mean that in a good way itself. How you can go to his social media, how you can actually put some money in this man's pocket. He's not doing this for his health. He's doing this for the family. So with that said, guys, segment number 3 coming around the corner on Jackie's Groove. This is Jackie Bertoni, brought to you by InterTalk Radio Network, connection to all things music. Guys, don't go anywhere. We'll be back on the final segment, final hour with Mr. Mark Bray. Guys, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after these short
Hi, this is Tim Dolbear, host of Sound Experience here on InterTalk Radio. And Source Connect by Source Element is the essential tool that we use to link between my studio in Austin, Texas, and the WS radio station in San Diego. Now, with Source Connect, not only can we communicate in real time and with HD audio, but it's synced up and is of a high enough quality that I can use it for real-time ADR work, remote recording, and overdubbing, and it even allows me to remotely control a DAW. Source Connect by Source Element, affordable, high-quality audio and video connection over the internet for all of your production needs.
You know what's all around you every waking moment of your life? Marketing. You're choking on it. I'm Scott Robertson, and when it comes to strategic PR, branding, and marketing, I've seen it all. And actually, I'm still seeing it because bad marketing never sleeps. Join me each week on May the Best Brand Win, right here on InterTalk Radio, and learn how to make the marketing for your brand unforgettable.
Make this your vinyl night. I'm John J.R. Robinson, and every week, music creation comes alive through stories, experiences, and sounds when vinyl records filled our hearts and minds. My friends and I share our tips and techniques used in creation of iconic tracks for recording artists such as Michael Jackson, Eric Clapton, Quincy Jones, and Steve Winwood, to name a few. Vinyl has emerged hot, and the soul of vinyl defines art and passion which burns deepest at night. Tune in every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on EnterTalkRadio.com.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
Hi, this is Michael McDonald, and you're listening to my good buddy Jackie Bertoni on Jackie's Groove.
Welcome to Jackie's Groove. Come journey with us through the rhythm of the music business with your host, Jackie Bertoni.
You go. Oh, you follow me around. You're everywhere I go. So if you're gonna leave me, won't you please leave me alone? I can swear you're right behind me, like my shadow on the ground. I can't outrun.
Everybody, welcome back to the last segment, last hour of a 1-hour interview with my in-studio guest, emerging artist number 16, Mr. Mark Bray. Mark, I'm going to jump right back into it. There's 1,000 things I want to talk about. And as I always say, too, I want to say a very special thanks to our sponsors, the guys that help us keep these lights on. First and foremost, to Calvin Lee and all the crew at Pitbull Audio, one of the world's largest online and physical brick-and-mortar stores for all of your electronic needs. You can reach them at pitbullaudio.com, where they just want you to play it loud. Somebody that, I don't know if you, Mark is going to be familiar with them, because they're big on the West and East Coast. Company called Studio Instrument Rentals, one of the biggest backline companies in the industry for all of your backline and studio rehearsal needs. You can reach them at sir-usa.com. People I'm most biased to, Sabian Cymbals, my cymbal choice for the past 25 years, Sabian.com. Vader Percussion, Vader.com, V-A-T-E-R. My drumstick company for 25 years, also Drum Workshop, the world's greatest drum company, dwdrums.com, Drum Workshop, all the guys there, love you guys, and someone I'm most biased to, who is part of the Drum Workshop family called LP Music Group, my percussion choice for the past 28 years. So with that said, that's business out of the way, cha-ching, we paid our bills. And I'm going to tell you, the people that my team that I'm so grateful for, as again, you already met Paul. He's the COO, he's the engineer, and he's the grunt in the industry, and they're working Megan and Candy and Cedric. But the gentleman I want to introduce to you, and I assure you, Mark, he's not a professional wrestler, even though his name defies that. So with that said, we have this great situation where I introduce the CEO to the artist to the CEO. So with that said, Florentino, please say hi to Mark. Mark, would you say hi to Florentino Buenaventura?
Hey, Mark, what's going on, buddy?
Hey, Florentino, what's happening, my man? Thanks for having me on, brother.
Oh, you're welcome, man. Thanks you for being here. Thank you for being talented.
Oh, yeah, I appreciate that, man. Thank you for that compliment. I'm having a blast. I'd do this every day if I could.
Well, hey, then who's doing music if you're doing this with us every day? Actually, Jackie does.
Well, that's true. That's a good point. Well, there's 24 hours in a day. We can work it out.
Yeah, I know Jackie does.
Says the guy who doesn't have the baby yet.
Yeah, good luck with that, right?
So, as Jackie mentioned, we kind of like to, in this segment, really do some spotlights. I mean, the whole show is about spotlight. In fact, that's what the network's created for, and I think Jackie mentioned that earlier, that we're all about giving either emerging artists or players that have played on just amazing tracks or been on these incredible tours that don't always get they haven't kind of gotten the full spotlight yet, or they're just not in a place where that's the case. They're supporting other people, and that's what this is. That's what this is all about. And one of the key ways we do that is we want people to stalk you in a nice way, obviously, because I imagine you get your fair share of crazies.
Nah, they're all good. Yeah. I'll take 10,000 crazies over 10,000 casual fans.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
1,000 crazies. They try harder. I'm all about it.
Yeah, definitely. I guess there wouldn't be a Grateful Dead if there wasn't a bunch of crazy fans, right?
The Deadheads, right. Exactly.
So, with that said, though, we want to give a way for people to find out about you. So, give us some of your, not some, just give us every way people can find out about you.
Sure. It's really easy. At Mark Bray Country, across the board. You mentioned Instagram earlier. Instagram at Mark Bray Country. Twitter at Mark Bray Country. Facebook at Mark Bray Country. And I'll give you one guess of what the website is. www.markbraycountry.
Man, you make that complicated.
Uniform, so nobody forgets it.
You definitely made that complicated, man. I don't know what to tell you, bro.
Yeah, man. It's like it was planned or something. I don't know.
Yeah, that is definitely awesome, and we definitely, we're hopefully you're going to make a bunch of new fans with us here today, and hopefully your fans also get a chance to listen to and find out more about you, because that's this day and age, with social media. The days of the standoff musicians, I think, have come and gone. You have to be connected to your audience, and I think that's
because they want to feel like they're a part of your life.
Exactly.
You're not just the Beatles on stage at Shea Stadium. You're Paul McCartney sitting at his coffee table. If the '60s were like they were now, you know exactly what he was doing on a Thursday.
Yeah.
Fans expect that now.
Yeah, and rightfully so. I think it's that's one of the things I do appreciate about this day and age is that people are willing to be a bit more accessible, and that gives the music a chance to, I think, at least stay more relevant, because that's one of the things that the artist. I guess that's one of my pet peeves about artists is they've kind of not all, but a good deal of them. Right. They kind of stay with their own flavor, their own sound, because they've lost touch with their artistry. They lost touch with the street, or they lost touch with, the people that have kind of made them who they are. And, I think that is one of the blessings that's about today. And I'm sure that's going to be the case with you, man, because you sound like you've really got, the fans deep in at heart. And that's a huge plus, man. So kudos to you, brother.
Honestly, it's without, especially in my world, the country music fan, I don't exist. I'm just a guy on his couch with his guitar. Without the people in country radio or radio in general, like you guys, I don't exist. I'm just a guy on the couch with his guitar. Everything that I do is for the listener, and and everything I do that you guys help you guys help me get that my music out. Without you guys, without the country music fan, I don't exist. And an artist has to understand that it's the fans that make or break whether or not you are a success or not. And you can never forget that.
Yeah, and I think that sometimes when you get that high tower, that's where people kind of lose sight. But I think country music is definitely the great thing. In fact, back in my days in the 80s when I was working on a concert production, I got a chance to work on a show with Charlie Pride. And here is a man that was just so humble and so kind. And then to top it all off, he was either his hip was fractured. He had a problem with his hip. He did the show, stayed after the show, and greeted fans for 2 hours, signed autographs, took pictures. Then they brought him to the hospital right after that to work on the hip. He had that to me taught me a lot about how we should interact with fans and what should be done from an artist perspective. And country music, I think we see that more often. Is that been your experience?
It has been. Being in the industry now, kind of being on the other side of the curtain, down in Nashville, you hear all these stories about different artists, and you hear stories about people, like Garth, like Neil McCoy, like Dolly Parton, how they are just so in tune with their audience, and they understand, what I just said, that, hey, we don't exist without them.
Yeah.
That, they'll go into a room and they'll talk to you, and you're the only person in the world. It doesn't matter if there's 9,000 people in that room. They will go from one person to the next. How are you? Tell me about you. And they look you in the eye, and they make you feel like you're their best friend. And because that happens, that guy is now a fan of Dolly Parton for life.
Yeah.
Dolly made him realize, I'm connecting with you, not as an artist, but as a human being.
Yeah, and I think that's super important. I'm glad that that we're able to provide a channel for that, and obviously people can always interact. We've got a chat, in our for the live streams. There's you could chat along with people that are fans, as well as through all of our social media. We encourage people to chime in on all that fun stuff. So we like the interactivity, and we try to connect everyone that way. So it's definitely a blessing for us with meeting fans of the artist and the players that we connect with. We've made a lot of friends. In fact, Jackie just had one of our super fans hanging out with him yesterday. And big shout out to Michael if you're listening. Sorry I couldn't make it, being ill, still a little under the weather today, but recovering. I guess it's all this weather.
He sends his love, by the way. He sends his love. Hey, I want to say one thing, Tino, before you get off there. I want to say congratulations to everybody worldwide. Florentino, nobody's come forward to say that he's inappropriately touched anybody. So I want to say congratulations to that, Tino, that you're not part of that. I couldn't help but do that. I know you're going to give me the finger right now, but I had to say that. It's not a Monday unless I can insult the CEO of the company. So
yeah, that's
with that said.
Well,
yeah, man. So
definitely can't say that about you, brother. Can't say that about you, Jackie, but that's okay.
Yeah, we won't talk about that right now. So
all right,
perfect. All right, man. Take care of yourself, Florentine. I'll talk to you offline later on. I love you, brother. And I'm going to get back to Mr. Bray.
Thanks, Mark.
Yeah, Florentino, man. It was a pleasure meeting you. Hopefully, we'll be able to talk again soon, man.
Yep, sounds good, Mark. You take care, brother. Bye.
Thank you.
Okay, Mark. I want to get back. I want to ask you a question. Because this is a musician asking to a musician.
Sure.
Does Mark Bray enjoy? It's kind of a weird question, but do you prefer studio or do you prefer live? And what's the difference between both of them for you? Share with us.
I'm a performer. I'm an entertainer. That's what I am. I play the guitar. People tell me I'm a lot better than I give myself credit for. But I want to put on a good show. I want people to feel like, man, those guys brought it, But on the flip side, there's nothing cooler than creating something new in the studio.
Yeah, man.
From the first, take to the scratch vocal, to the mixing, to the mastering, to the harmonies. It's like putting together a puzzle or building a house, and it's just like that there's nothing cooler than watching that product go from the drawing board,
sure.
The blueprints, so to speak, to that brand new house being built. Really, there isn't.
Yeah, man, and when it comes together and when it doesn't. And also, with that said, I want to ask you this question, most importantly itself. When you walk off that stage, again, I don't care what size the venue, if it's a festival or whatever it is, and you're looking out from that microphone and you're looking out to that shining sea of faces and people are applauding and you're beside yourself with joy about this. But when those audience disappear and you come back out on stage and you're looking at the crew putting stuff away, when you're driving home, and when you're going back to the hotel or going back to your house, what is it that you want deep in your heart? What do you want to know that the audience took away from one of your performances? What is your dream?
That he's the real deal, that he left it all up on that stage, that he that this is what he should be doing. Someone sitting in the crowd and like, this guy's doing exactly what he was put here to do. That's what I want. I want that person to, send a message to the Facebook page and be like, hey, we just saw you at, the Jetty in Graysonville, Maryland, and we thought that you were awesome. We can't wait till you come back. We're going to come see you. We're going to bring friends. That's what I want.
And I hope for you, Mark, that as your career starts to take off like crazy, that in the years to come, that there'll be an audience member that walks up to you and says, hey, Mark, I want to let you know if it wasn't for your music, I wouldn't have made it through A, B, and C. You know, when I'm on stage with these iconic entertainers, and let's say, for instance, Michael McDonald, and he stops singing, the band continues to play, but the audience is not only singing word for word, they're singing with every one of his phrases. That is something that I cry. I'm not going to lie to you, man. Exactly. It's that whole vibe. And then I want to ask you this question. The question actually developed by my better half, Caprice. I love this question, and everybody loves it also. If music, the vernacular, or anything to do with music was not in your vocabulary, what would Mark Bray be doing today?
It would be very sad. He would.
That's okay.
You know, that's hard to say because, you know, music, you know, you see it sounds cliche because you see the memes all over Facebook, but music isn't what I do, it's what I am.
Of course.
And, but if you were going to twist my arm and say, Mark, answer the damn question, I would probably be working in a job that I went to school for, and that would be what you're doing right now, broadcasting.
Okay.
I would probably either be in television broadcasting or sports broadcasting, which is what my background was in. But that's a scary thought, man, because, you know, music has just been such a part of my everyday life from the moment I get up to the time I go to bed for the last, you know, however many years, that just the thought of it not being there is actually kind of a scary thought.
Yeah, and that's such a cool thought because of all the great interviews I've done, the answer comes back more times than not that I'd either be a psychologist or a psychiatrist, in which we are with our music. Secondly, some people have even said, yeah, I'd probably be dead, you know, and, you know, or just because, you know, of the life that I'd led before that. But I want to ask you this question in this last minute and a half. I know my answer, but I want to find out, where were you? What were you doing, my brother? And what song was it when you heard yourself on the radio for the first time? Share with us and don't lie.
Oh, my gosh. The first time I heard myself on the radio was on Renegade Radio Nashville, out of Nashville, Tennessee. Captain Jack is the DJ and programming director, and he played a song that I put together on a little demo that I put together in Baltimore. And it was surreal. It was like I did this, and if everything ended tomorrow, and I somehow my vocal cords disappeared from my throat, and I could never do anything ever again, I did that, and I can hang my hat on that. And it was a crazy emotional feeling.
Yeah, and you know what, brother? It never gets old. The songs that I've recorded on that are 25 years old and still hits to this day, I don't really yell out. I just kind of sit there with a smirk on my face and a smile, and it makes me feel really good. But what doesn't make me feel good, brother, is that this is over with, man. We are done. This was fun.
Oh, man. We are so out of time. But if I may, real quick,
sure.
I mentioned that I wouldn't be anything without the country music listener. And I would like to, if I may, give a shout out and say, hey, you know, we got that new record coming out in a little bit. It's called You Follow Me Around. But before it comes out, at the end of November, I would like to give away something for free to the fans. If they go to giftfrommark.com, you get a free download from the record. And that's just my thank you to the music listeners, because if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't exist. Giftfrommark.com, free download from the record.
You guys heard it from the horse's mouth. And Mark, I want to thank you very much for accepting our invitation. Nicole, thank you for bringing Mark to us. Brother boy, thank you, my friend. You guys go out, don't steal the music, buy the music. Hunt this man down, put some money in his pocket at Mark Bray across social media. Mark, thank you, brother. And as I finish with all my broadcasts, I end up by saying peace through music. Brother, love you, brother. Thanks for being part of it. You've done
Amen. Thank you. Let's do this again sometimes.
This is Jackie Bertoni from Jackie's Groove. Come join me weekly on my journey through the music business as I take you behind the velvet rope, interviewing industry notables such as Al Di Meola, Michael McDonald, and Al Jarreau, to name but a few. Listen to their stories on being in the studios recording #1 hits and onto the stages throughout the globe. Allow me to be your music historian. You can hear me live every Monday at 2 p.m. and every Wednesday at 12 noon Pacific Standard Time or 24/7 on jackiesgroove.com. Ready to get your groove on?
Hi, this is Tim Dolbear from Eclectic Studios. I'm a full-time mixing and recording engineer. I work with Grammy winners, labels, and indie artists, using state-of-the-art digital mixing and restoration tools and the very best in analog gear. Really, though, it's my ability to bring tracks to life and fulfill your vision for your music. This has made me sought after by producers and artists worldwide. So spend your time working on music and not chasing a mix down a rabbit hole. Go to timdolbear.com and check out our free one-song mix offer.
You know what's all around you every waking moment of your life? Marketing. You're choking on it. I'm Scott Robertson, and when it comes to strategic PR, branding, and marketing, I've seen it all. And actually, I'm still seeing it because bad marketing never sleeps. Join me each week on May the Best Brand Win, right here on Intertalk Radio, and learn how to make the marketing for your brand unforgettable.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.